The soft hum of flickering fluorescent lights buzzed through the empty office, casting long, eerie shadows across the rows of cubicles. It was late, way past the time anyone should still be here. But work had piled up, and staying late had become a habit. Besides, it was just another quiet night at the office. Or so it seemed. Anna sat at her desk, eyes straining against the glow of her computer screen. The office was unnervingly silent, the kind of quiet that made every little sound feel amplified. The creak of her chair, the distant hum of the air conditioning, the occasional crackling of the vents. She hated working late, but deadlines didn't care about her unease. With a deep sigh, she stretched her arms and glanced at the clock. 11:42 p.m. Just a little longer. If she could finish this last report, she could finally go home. The thought of stepping outside, breathing in the crisp night air, and leaving the ghostly stillness of the building behind made her work just a little faster. Then she heard it. Noise. Faint but distinct. Shuffle. She froze. Maybe it was just the building settling. That's what she always told herself when she heard strange noises this late at night. After all, offices made sounds, air ducts, old pipes, maybe even a stray cleaning crew member moving around. But something about this sound felt different. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. Slowly, she turned in her chair, scanning the dimly lit aisles between the cubicles. The emergency exit sign at the far end of the office bathed the hallway in an unsettling red glow. But other than that, there was nothing. No movement. No sign that anyone else was there. Anna shook her head, trying to push the unease away. She was just tired. That was all. She went back to typing, but just as her fingers hit the keyboard, there it was again. This time closer. A soft, almost hesitant footstep. Her breath hitched. She wasn't alone. Her mind raced through logical explanations. Maybe security was making their rounds. But they usually announced themselves. Maybe someone else was working late. But she'd been the last one in the office. She was sure of it. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay calm. If someone was here, maybe they didn't realize she was still working. Maybe it was just one of the janitors. "Hello," she called out, her voice barely above a whisper. Silence. Then the lights at the far end of the hallway flickered. Once. Then went out completely. Anna's pulse pounded in her ears. She grabbed her phone, the bright screen cutting through the darkness, and quickly checked the time again. 11:47 p.m. Didn't make sense. The motion sensors should have turned the lights back on if someone was moving around. Unless someone was standing still. Watching. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. She forced herself to take a steady breath and gathered her things, trying to act normal. If someone was messing with her, she wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of scaring her. She stood up, clutching her bag a little too tightly, and made her way toward the exit. As she walked, the silence grew heavier. The hallway stretched endlessly ahead, each step echoing louder than it should have. Every instinct told her to run, to get out as fast as she could, but she kept her pace steady. Then, just as she reached the door, her phone vibrated in her hand. A new notification. Message. From an unknown number. She hesitated before looking down at the screen. "Why are you leaving so soon?" Anna's breath caught in her throat. Her hands trembled as she frantically scanned the room, her eyes darting to every darkened corner. She wasn't alone. And whoever was here, they knew she was. Her heart pounded as she tried to decide what to do next. Call for help. Run. Confront whoever was messing with her. But before she could move, the overhead lights flickered once more, then went out completely. The office was swallowed in darkness. And then, she heard the slow, deliberate sound of footsteps approaching. Closer. And closer. Until they stopped. Right behind her. Anna's breath hitched in her throat. The darkness felt thick around her, pressing in from all sides. The only light came from her phone screen, glowing weakly in her trembling hand. The message still lingered there. "Why are you leaving so soon?" Its presence more chilling than the darkness itself. She swallowed hard, ears straining to hear any movement behind her. The footsteps had stopped, but that didn't mean she was alone. She could feel it, an unshakable sense that someone was standing there watching. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag. She had to get out. She forced herself to move, one cautious step toward the exit. The door was just a few feet away. She could make it to the stairwell, she could run. But as she reached for the handle, another vibration rattled her phone. Another message. Don't turn around. Her stomach dropped. The urge to spin around to confirm that no one was there was overwhelming. But something deep inside her screamed not to. Whoever, or whatever, was behind her didn't want to be seen. Her fingers fumbled with the door handle, her pulse thundering in her ears. She twisted it, expecting resistance, expecting something, anything to stop her from leaving. But the door swung open easily. Relief flooded her for a split second, until she stepped into the stairwell. The light above flickered, casting erratic shadows on the concrete walls. The stairwell should have felt safer. It was a way out. But something about the empty, echoing space made her hesitate. A soft creak came from behind her. The door, which had been wide open, was slowly swinging shut. On its own. Anna lunged forward just as it slammed closed behind her, the sound reverberating through the stairwell. She spun around, gripping the railing, her breath coming in short gasps. The small rectangular window on the door was pitch black. No movement. No figure standing there. Just emptiness. She wasn't sure if that was better or worse. Her phone vibrated again. This time, her hands were shaking too much to check it immediately. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to focus. She needed to leave, not get caught up in whatever this was. She turned back toward the stairs, peering down the dimly lit concrete steps. She was on the 4th floor. Only a few flights to the lobby. The air felt heavier here. Colder. She started moving, careful but quick. The stairs creaked beneath her with every step, the sound bouncing off the walls. The further down she went, the more suffocating the silence became. Then halfway to the 3rd floor she heard it. A door opening. Not the one she had come through, but one from below. Her heart pounded. Someone else was in the stairwell. She stopped, straining to hear past her own rapid breathing. A faint rustling like fabric shifting against concrete. Then footsteps. Low. Measured. Coming up. Anna gripped the railing tighter, her mind racing. She couldn't go back up. But going down meant heading toward whoever was there. Her phone vibrated again. She hesitated before lifting it, dread pooling in her stomach. Don't run. Her mouth went dry. Was someone watching her? How? She dared to peek over the railing, looking down. The stairwell twisted below her, disappearing into shadow. But then movement. Figure. Not rushing. Not panic. Just steadily making its way up. Not wanting to see more, she pressed her back against the cold concrete wall, heart hammering against her ribs. She needed to decide, run or stay frozen. Then the footsteps stopped. Right below her. The silence was unbearable. She clutched her phone like a lifeline, her pulse so loud in her ears that she almost didn't hear the next sound. Breath. Not hers. Blows. Too close. Panic surged through her. She couldn't just stand there. She had to move. Ignoring the message's warning, she bolted, taking the stairs 2 at a time. She didn't care about the noise anymore. All she cared about was getting to the bottom, getting to the lobby, getting out. The footsteps below erupted into a sprint. Someone was chasing her. She pushed herself harder, gripping the railing to keep from tripping. The 3rd floor landing blurred past. She could hear them just a few steps behind. Then, as she reached the 2nd floor, the stairwell lights flickered violently, before plunging into total darkness. Anna gasped, skidding to a stop. She clutched the railing, her breath ragged. The footsteps had stopped too. The darkness was suffocating, pressing in around her. Then, something new. Sound low and unnatural. A whisper. Breath. She couldn't tell. She squeezed her eyes shut, heart hammering. This wasn't just someone messing with her anymore. This wasn't normal. Her phone buzzed one last time. She didn't want to look, but she did. And what she saw made her blood run cold. Photo of her, standing in the dark stairwell, taken from just a few steps away. Anna's fingers felt numb as she stared at the photo on her screen. Her own terrified face, bathed in the dim glow of her phone, frozen in time. Someone had taken this picture just now. A cold chill ran down her spine. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't know what was worse, the fact that someone was there with her, unseen in the darkness, or the fact that they were close enough to take that photo. Her grip tightened on her phone as she forced herself to move. Every part of her body screamed run. But where? The stairwell was pitch black now, and she had no idea what or who was in it with her. She took a shaky step forward, one hand trailing the cold concrete wall for balance. The air felt thick, pressing against her skin. She strained to listen, but all she could hear was the dull ringing in her ears, her own heartbeat pounding like a warning. Then, from somewhere below, a whisper. Not words, just the sound of breath. Low, deliberate. Anna's stomach twisted. She couldn't stay here. She turned, forcing herself to move, step by careful step, toward the second-floor door. Her fingers fumbled in the dark, searching for the handle. She could barely see. Her only light source was the faint glow of her phone, still open to the photo she never took. Then a new message appeared. Wrong way. Anna's breath hitched. The second-floor door was right there. If she could just slip inside, she could lock it behind her. But this message, they knew what she was doing. They were watching. Her fingers brushed the handle, and in that moment, something moved behind her. Shuffle. A shift in the air. Every muscle in her body tensed. She turned, barely able to see into the thick blackness of the stairwell. There was nothing there. Then the faintest glow. Her breath caught. It was a phone screen. Someone else's phone. Few steps below her. Facing her. Watching. Anna's body acted before her brain could process. She ripped open the door and threw herself inside, slamming it shut behind her. The sudden silence in the hallway was deafening. Her hands trembled as she fumbled for the lock, twisting it hard until she heard the faint click. For a moment she just stood there, pressing her back against the door, her breath ragged. Her phone vibrated again, but she couldn't look. Not yet. She needed to think. The second floor was empty. She knew that. Most of the office was vacant at this hour. She could make it to the break room, maybe she could hide. Or maybe no. She needed to leave. She forced herself to glance at her phone. Another message. I told you not to run. Her stomach twisted into knots. Her throat felt tight. Then, from the other side of the door, knock, rhythmic, like someone waiting. She clamped a hand over her mouth, as if that could stop the sound of her own breathing. Then the knock came again, slower this time, drawn out. She squeezed her eyes shut. Mo. She took a shaky step back, her mind racing. What did they want? Were they just trying to scare her? Or was this something worse? The hallway stretched out in front of her, empty and dimly lit by the faint glow of the exit signs. She could just get to the other stairwell, she could reach the lobby. Another knock. Then the door handle rattled. Anna's breath caught in her throat. They were trying to get in. She spun on her heel and ran. Her footsteps echoed down the empty hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead. The whole floor felt wrong. Like it wasn't just empty but abandoned. Like it hadn't been used in a long time. Her phone buzzed again, but she didn't stop. She didn't want to see what the message said. She rounded the corner, the second stairwell finally in sight. The red glow of the exit sign felt like salvation. Just a few more steps. And movement. From the end of the hall. Figure. Standing perfectly still. Too far to see clearly, but close enough that she knew. They were watching her. A fresh wave of panic surged through her. She backed away, heart hammering. Then the figure moved. Not toward her. Away. They stepped backward, melting into the shadows, disappearing into the darkness. Anna swallowed hard, her throat dry. What was happening? Her body screamed at her to leave. She turned back toward the stairwell and stopped. The door she had been running toward was now open, wide open, and inside just blackness. No light, no sound, just waiting. She took a step back, every nerve in her body on edge. This wasn't right. This wasn't right. Her phone buzzed. With shaky fingers, she lifted it, dread pooling in her stomach. Single word. Come. She couldn't breathe. A cold sweat clung to her skin. The open stairwell felt like a trap. But behind her, she knew the other door wasn't safe either. She was stuck, trapped between two choices that both felt wrong. And then, from the open stairwell, sound. Not footsteps, not whispers, something else, something breathing. Anna didn't wait. She turned and ran, but this time she wasn't sure if she was running toward safety, or something worse. Anna's footsteps pounded against the cold floor as she ran, her breath coming in short, desperate gasps. The dim hallway stretched endlessly ahead, every flickering light above her making the shadows shift unnaturally along the walls. She had no idea where she was going, only that she needed to get away. Behind her, the sound of breathing still lingered, deep and steady, as if whoever or whatever was in the stairwell wasn't following but waiting. She risked a glance over her shoulder. The stairwell door stood wide open. The darkness inside seemed thicker than it should be, swallowing the light from the hallway. It was like staring into something that wasn't empty but wasn't right. She turned away quickly, her stomach twisting. Keep moving. Don't stop. The office was massive, a maze of long corridors and glass-walled rooms, all eerily silent. Most of the desks were empty, monitors dark, chairs pushed in as if everyone had left in a hurry. She tried to steady her breathing. Think. The elevators were near the main entrance, just past the large conference room. But could she trust them? Her phone buzzed again. She almost didn't want to look. But some part of her needed to know. Needed to see what they were saying. The screen lit up with another message. You're almost there. A lump formed in her throat. Almost where? A new wave of dread crawled up her spine. They weren't just watching. They knew where she was going. Her grip tightened around the phone as she kept moving, scanning every dark corner, every glass reflection. The conference room was up ahead, its long table illuminated faintly by the emergency exit signs. That's when she saw it. A single chair pulled out. It wasn't like the others. The rest were perfectly aligned, untouched, like no one had sat there in hours. But this one faced the door. As if someone had just been sitting there, watching, waiting. Her breath hitched. Then she noticed something else. Her reflection. The long conference room had glass walls, and she could see herself standing in the doorway, pale, shaken. But in the faint glow of her phone screen, she noticed something behind her. Shadow. Too tall. Too still. Right behind her. She spun around. Nothing. Just the empty hallway stretching back into darkness. Her chest heaved. She saw something. She knew she did. Her phone buzzed again. Her shaking hands lifted it. This time it wasn't a message. It was another photo, taken from inside the conference room. Showed her, standing right where she was. But in the reflection, the shadow was still there. She couldn't breathe. Her legs moved before she could think, carrying her forward in a blind panic. She ran past the conference room down the hall toward the lobby. The elevators were ahead, just a few more steps. The small screen above the doors glowed a dull yellow, the arrow pointing down. It was coming. She reached out, slamming the button repeatedly, her fingers trembling. The hallway behind her stretched impossibly long, every shadow creeping toward her like they were alive. The elevator dinged. She lunged inside the moment the doors slid open, jabbing the ground floor button. Blows, blows, blows. The doors began to slide shut. Hand reached through. Anna's scream caught in her throat as the doors jerked open again. But there was no one there. Just the empty hallway. The doors remained stuck, half open, like something unseen was keeping them apart. Her phone vibrated. She forced herself to look. One final message. "You're not leaving." The lights above her flickered. The air in the elevator felt heavy, pressing against her chest. And then, the doors slammed shut. And the elevator began to descend. But something felt wrong. It was moving too fast. The numbers on the panel blurred, flickering too quickly to track. She reached for the emergency stop button. And then, everything went black. The darkness inside the elevator was suffocating. Anna couldn't see her own hands, couldn't tell if the elevator was still moving or if she was trapped in some kind of void. Her breath came in short, panicked bursts, and the silence was absolute. No hum of machinery, no creaking of cables. Nothing. She reached out blindly, fingers fumbling for the panel, the emergency button. Anything solid, anything that would ground her. But the surface felt wrong. Not metal. Not plastic. It was smooth. Cold. A glass. Her stomach twisted. She pressed her palm against it, her pulse hammering in her ears. The elevator walls had changed. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, the only sign that time was still moving forward. She hesitated before pulling it out, dread clawing at her insides. The screen flickered as she unlocked it, but there were no messages this time. Just another photo. Her breath caught in her throat. It was the inside of the elevator. But it wasn't empty. Someone stood in the far corner, barely visible, their face obscured by shadow. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She wasn't alone. Anna's grip tightened on her phone as she forced herself to turn. Her body resisted every movement, every nerve screaming, "Don't look." She turned anyway. The corner was empty. The air in the elevator felt heavier now, charged, like something unseen was pressing in around her. Her chest tightened. Was she losing it? Was this all in her head? The phone vibrated again. Another photo. This time closer. The figure had moved. Not in real life. Not where she could see them. Only in the photo. A shaky breath left her lips. This wasn't right. None of this was right. The lights above flickered back to life for a split second, just long enough for her to see something flash in the reflection of the elevator doors. Shadow. Right behind her. Then the elevator dropped. The sensation was instant, violent. Anna screamed as gravity ripped her downward, her body lifting slightly off the floor. The numbers on the panel glitched, flickering nonsense symbols. Her ears popped. And then, as suddenly as it started, the elevator stopped. The force slammed her to the ground, her phone flying from her grip. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she scrambled upright, her hands shaking. The doors didn't open. The only sound was her own rapid breathing, her heartbeat drumming wildly in her chest. Chime. The soft, polite ding of the elevator signaling arrival. The doors slid open. Anna hesitated, her body frozen with fear. The space beyond the elevator was wrong. It should have been the lobby. Exit. Safety. But instead she was back on the second floor. The exact place she had been running from. Her stomach lurched. No, this wasn't possible. The hallway stretched out before her, unchanged. Except now, all the lights were off. Anna's hands shook as she reached for her phone, her fingers barely working. The screen was cracked from the fall, but it still flickered to life. One new message. "Welcome back." Terror sank deep into her bones. She stepped out of the elevator on unsteady legs. The moment she did, the doors slammed shut behind her with a final, echoing clunk. She spun back, reaching for the button, for anything to bring it back, but the elevator panel was gone. Just a blank, smooth wall. Like the elevator had never been there at all. A sharp click echoed through the hallway. A door unlocking. Slowly she turned. At the far end of the corridor, a single office door creaked open, revealing only darkness inside. And then, a figure stepped out. Not rushing. Not stumbling. Just walking. Straight toward her. Anna's breath caught in her throat as the figure moved toward her. Their footsteps were slow, steady, deliberate, like they had all the time in the world. The darkness behind them stretched endlessly, swallowing everything. She wanted to run, to move, but her legs felt locked in place, her body frozen by sheer terror. The figure stepped into the dim glow of the emergency lights, and Anna's stomach dropped. It was her. Not someone who looked like her. Not a trick of the shadows. It was her exact reflection. Same clothes, same wide, terrified eyes staring back. Anna's pulse pounded in her ears. She tried to back away, but there was nowhere left to go. The elevator was gone. The hallway stretched forever in both directions, endless and unfamiliar. The air was thick, pressing against her skin, and she could barely breathe. Her phone vibrated in her trembling hands. She forced herself to look. It's time. The moment she read the words, her reflection, the other Anna, tilted her head slightly, as if acknowledging the message too. Then she smiled. Not a normal smile. Not friendly. It was slow, unnatural, like a mask stretching over her face. Anna's body screamed run, but it was too late. The lights flickered. And the other Anna lunged. A sharp, suffocating cold crashed over her, swallowing her whole. It was like falling into ice water, like the very air was pressing against her skin, seeping inside. She couldn't see, couldn't move, couldn't even scream. Images flashed in her mind. Glimpses of the office, empty and abandoned, the flickering lights, the photo on her phone, the shadow in the corner. A loop repeating over and over. Silence. When Anna opened her eyes, she was standing in the middle of the hallway. The elevator was back. The lights were on. Everything looked normal. For a long moment she just stood there, her body shaking. The air no longer felt thick. The shadows were gone. It was as if none of it had happened. Her phone buzzed. Her heart pounded as she looked at the screen. See you tomorrow. Anna's breath caught. She turned slowly, looking at the glass walls of the conference room. In the reflection she was still standing there. But her reflection was smiling. Anna couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. The reflection in the glass stood perfectly still, mirroring her every move, except for the smile. That eerie, unnatural grin stretched just a little too wide, like something wearing her face, pretending to be her. Her hands trembled as she slowly reached toward the glass, expecting it to shatter, to distort, to do something. But it didn't. It was just her own reflection. Or at least, it should have been. The moment her fingers brushed the surface, a shock of cold ran up her arm, spreading through her chest like ice. A sharp pain stabbed behind her eyes, and for a brief, terrifying second, she wasn't in the office anymore. Flashes of images. Fragments of memories that weren't hers. Dark hallway. A figure standing in the shadows. A phone screen lighting up with a message she didn't recognize. Name. Not hers. And then silence. She gasped and stumbled back, nearly losing her footing. The moment she broke contact with the glass, the sensation was gone. The reflection still stared back, still smiling. But now Anna saw it. Small movement. Blink. Her reflection had blinked, but she hadn't. Panic surged through her veins. She turned away from the glass, forcing herself to breathe. This isn't real. Can't be real. But everything in her gut screamed that it was. She had to get out. Her legs finally responded, and she bolted for the stairwell. The elevator wasn't an option, not after what had happened before. She pushed through the heavy door, nearly tripping as she descended the steps two at a time. The air was thick, but she ignored it. Just keep going. The exit door loomed ahead, glowing under the dull red light of the emergency sign. She shoved it open with both hands, stumbling into the cold night air. The parking lot was eerily still, the streetlights casting long, empty shadows. Her car was there, exactly where she left it. She sprinted toward it, fumbling with her keys, her breath coming in short, uneven gasps. When she finally yanked the door open and threw herself inside, she locked it immediately, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. The office building loomed in front of her, its windows dark, silent. Nothing looked out of place. No strange figures. No movement. Had she imagined it all? Her phone buzzed. Anna swallowed hard, already knowing what she would see. New message. You made it out. Her stomach twisted. She didn't reply. Didn't move. Another message. For now. Her entire body went cold. Anna started the car and peeled out of the parking lot, her hands shaking on the wheel. She didn't care where she was going, as long as it was away. She didn't look back. She couldn't. By the time she reached her apartment, her exhaustion caught up with her, but sleep didn't come easily. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that reflection, that smile. She saw herself standing in that hallway, staring back at something she couldn't explain. Morning came too fast. The sunlight streaming through her blinds felt foreign, like she had woken up in a different world. But everything seemed normal. Her phone sat on the nightstand, dark and silent. No messages. No missed calls. For the first time in hours, she exhaled, letting herself believe. Maybe it was over. Maybe it was just some horrible dream, stress playing tricks on her mind. She got ready for the day, moving slower than usual, the events of the night before still clinging to her like a shadow. But by the time she stepped outside, the world felt real again. Normal. She almost laughed at herself. Almost. Her phone buzzed. She froze. It was an email. Subject. Schedule reminder. It was from work. Her shift was scheduled for tonight. Back at the office. Anna's stomach twisted into knots. She didn't want to go back. Every part of her screamed not to. But how could she explain that? How could she say, I think my reflection tried to take my place, and expect anyone to believe her? She closed her eyes, steadying her breathing. It was just one more night. She could handle one more night. Hours later, as she pulled into the parking lot, her hands were still shaking. The building stood dark and quiet, just like before. But this time it felt different, like it was waiting. Anna took a deep breath and stepped inside. And in the glass doors, under the dim glow of the emergency lights, her reflection was already smiling.